Okay.
My name is Claude Ford, and today we'll be talking about the German Bundeswehr Army from 1989 to the present day. A little background on Bundeswehr. On May 8, 1945, the unconditional surrender of the Wehrmacht German Army at the time and the abolishment of German Army. From there, the Potsdam Conference of 1945, the victorious Allies wanted to demilitarize completely Germany at the time, but events happened with the Cold War being brought, redefined Germany's military role. So that led to the Paris Agreement of 1945, with it ended the occupation of the Federal Republic of Germany and allowing it to join NATO. From there, they joined NATO in 1955 and allowing them to officially recreate a defense military. That Article 87 of the Basic Law mentioned that the Federation still establish an armed forces from the purpose of a defense. And then in 1956, the German Army at the time got its name as the Bundeswehr and was created. And from there, I jumped to 1989 with the fall of the Berlin Wall in East Germany. From that, it led to the reunification, and that answered that brought the question of what were they going to do with the National People's Army, or the NVA of East Germany. They integrated them in at the start. About 90. Well, they wanted to create. Well, some wanted to create two armies at the time, but the Federal Minister of Defense, Gernot Stoltenberg, stated that one state, one army. So that got diminished, and so it created. The NVA consisted of 90,000 soldiers, and it got implemented into the Bundeswehr. But since there was no threat because of the Warsaw Pact being dissolved and everything, 600,000 soldiers created the Bundeswehr at the time. But since there was no threat, the treaty, the final settlement, the 2+40 treaty, was created. So 50,000. They only took 50,000 soldiers of the East German Army and created about 370,000 military men at the time. From there, we led into many issues with the reunification. Money was with the materials that the NVA had left behind. Like the ammunition and weapons were mostly destroyed. Some jets and military vehicles were adapted into the Bundeswehr, and then and with the rest was all mostly sold away. That other issues that led with this is what the methods of both military. With the East German Army, much different from the West German Army at the time. It led to some difficulties. So you can see that the high-ranking officers were not incorporated in the Bundeswehr, but lower officers were, but they were downgraded because they were so highly paid in the East German Army. And then they would sign 2-year contracts, and most of them didn't re-enlist after those 2 years because it was just difficulty integrating both into each other. This is a picture showing an NVA soldier coming over to the Bundeswehr, and he has all his materials. From there today, the Federal Minister of Defense is, I can't say her name, Ursula von der Leyen, someone.
Von der Leyen, yeah.
She is the defense minister, the leader. The main branches are the Army, Navy, Air Force, and the medical services are the main branches, but the Army now consists of 182,000 soldiers because there's a max limit of 185, but they're still have the same role as national defense and assistance with NATO, but they are more lenient on, and the Bundeswehr hasn't been involved in the Gulf War, the Kosovo War, and also in Afghanistan during Operation Enduring Freedom, whether that's troop involvement or financial or materials given to those armies that were within. But leading from there, some issues that today that you see with Bundeswehr is like the 182,000 and the max limit's 185. They have issues with getting soldiers to participate or get volunteer. So there are some solutions that they're rethinking. They're thinking about conscription, again, where you are forced into the military as a young adult, young male, but also women are too. Now, since 2000, women are allowed into the Bundeswehr. Also, other issues, well, other solutions to that. They also are thinking about recruiting citizens from the other EU countries. That's another solution they thought about. Some have supported it. They have to also think about having them citizenship once they join. Another is minors, having minors sign up. That's another solution, but the minors are able to, within 6 months, whether they want to stay or not, they can quit or whatever. And then other issues are materials and equipment. They lack, the Bundeswehr today lacks very much in the materials and equipment. Recently, with Syria and everything, I think there's about 700 men down in 700, and the United States was there, and they were using cell phones as communication between each other, and they didn't have proper equipment to use. So that raises the issue today with President Trump issuing or pressuring Germany to invest more into the defense and to fulfill their NATO requirements. And that's all I have.